Welcome to the video lecture. Now we are going to discuss about the subject engineering economics. What is the engineering? Engineering is a application of science. Economics, the economics were that is a Greek word that is derived from the oginomia. The ogino means house, household. Nomio means management. That is a management of the house affairs, house management. The word economics is formed by a economics professor Adam Smith. The economics is a study of how the society uses its limited resources. The economics is a social science that deals with the production, distribution and consumption of goods and services. A study of how limited resources are used to satisfy the unlimited human wants. The main objectives of the economics is the first one is a high level of employment. In a high level of employment, we have to increase the employability. Next, the price stability. Third one is the efficiency. Fourth one is an equal distribution of the income. Fourth one is the growth. Next topic is the flow in an economy. We have in this flow in an economy, we have two entities. The first one is the firm or business. Second entity is a household. Flow in an economy, the flow of goods, services, resources and money payments result in a simple economy. Households and business firms are the two major entities in a simple economy. Business organization use the various economic resources such as land, labor and capital which are provided by the households to produce the consumer goods and services which will be used by them. Business firms make a payment to the money for the household receiving the various resources. The households in turn make a payment to the business organization. The flow chart shows about the two entities, the business and households. The business has to provide the goods and services to the consumers. Business also use the resources input provided by the households. In a household, the householder consumes the final goods and services produced by the business and services, and also provide the productive input to the business. That is economic resources, land, labor, capitals. Next topic is the law of supply and demand. First we have to know about the demand. What is demand? The demand is the desire for a commodity backed by the necessary purchasing power. Next, the supply. What is supply? It represents how much a market can offer. It refers to the amount of certain producers willing to supply when receiving a certain price. The law of supply. The law of supply describes according to the higher price of the product depends on the quantity of the product. Law of supply, it is proportional to the price and quantity of the product. The law of supply depends on the following factors. First one is the income of the people. Second one is the price of the related goods. Third one is taste of customers or consumers. Next, law of demand. Law of demand, it is indirectly proportional with the quantity and the price of the product. Whenever the price of the product goes up, the demand of the product decreased. The factors influencing in a supply is first one is the cost of input, technology, weather, price of related goods. Briefly, we have to discuss about the law of demand now. The law of demand stated that if all other factors remain equal, the higher the price of the goods, the less people will demand that product. The amount of goods the buyer purchases at a higher price is less, because as the price of goods goes up, so does the opportunity cost of buying that good. As a result, people will naturally avoid buying a product that will force them to forego the consumption of something else. Next, the law of supply. The supply relationship shows that if the price is low, the producers restrain from releasing more quantities of the product in the market. Hence, the supply of the product is decreased. From the above figure, the point of intersection of supply curve and demand curve is a equilibrium point. At this particular point, the quantity of the supply is equal to the quantity of the demand. The factors influencing in a demand is three factors. First one is the income of the people, price of the related goods, taste of the consumers. If the income of the people increases, the purchasing power increases. For example, if the cost of the TV set is lowered, its demand will go up. As a result, the demand for its associated products such as VCD, speakers would increase. That includes in the prices of related goods. Next, the taste of the consumers. Over a period of time, the preference of the people for a particular product may increase, which in turn will affect the demand. For examples, we have let us consider the diabetic patient focus on the sugar-free products. That is a taste of the consumers. That also influence in a demand. Next, what are the factors influencing in a supply? The four factors. The first one is the cost of input, technology, weather, price of the related goods. If the cost of the input, we have to discuss about the cost of the input. If the price of the fertilizers and the cost of the labor increases, the profit margin per bag of paddy will be reduced. Hence, the farmer will reduce the area of cultivation and the supply of paddy will be reduced. Second one, technology. If there is an advancement in a technology used to manufacture the product, then there will be reduction in the production cost of the product. Hence, more quantity will be supplied. Next factor is weather. Weather also plays a major role. During the winter, the demand for the woolen product will increase. Next factor, the price of related goods. So, the producer will supply the more related goods. As an example of a TV related with that accessories or a speaker, VCD players also supply influence on a supply factor. Next, the concept of engineering economics. Engineering economics, it is defined as a set of principles, concepts, techniques and methods by which the alternatives within a project can be compared and evaluated for the project monetary return. Principles of engineering economics. The first one is develop the alternatives. Decisions are made from the alternatives. The alternatives need to be identified and then defined for the subsequent analysis. Next up is the focus on the differences. Only the difference in the expected future outcomes among the alternatives are relevant. Use a consistent viewpoint. The prospective outcomes of the alternatives, economic and others, should be consistently developed from a defined perspective. Use of common unit of measures. Common unit of measure to enumerate as many of the prospective outcomes as possible will make easier the analysis and comparison of the alternatives. Consider all the relevant criteria. Selection of preferred alternatives requires the use of criteria. Makes uncertainty explicit. Uncertainty is inherent in projecting the future outcomes of the alternatives and should be recognized in their analysis and comparison. Revisit your decision. Improved decision making results from an adaptive process the initial projected. Next, we have to see about the engineering economic analysis procedure. First step is problem recognition, formulation and evaluation, development of feasible alternatives, development of the cash flow for each alternative, selection of criterion, analysis and comparison of an alternatives, selection of the preferred alternatives, performance monitoring and post evaluation results. Engineering efficiency, that is also called as a technical efficiency. It is a ratio of output to the input. For example, let us consider the diesel engines. The output is a mechanical energy is the output, and the input is a fuel energy. The technical efficiency can never be more than the 100% because that has the frictional loss, transportation loss, some energy losses or there, heat losses also. Next, the economic efficiency is the ratio of worth to the cost. The worth is the annual revenue generated from the business, that is the output in an economic efficiency. The cost is which is the total annual expenses or expenditure to the business, that is the input to the business. The survival and growth of the business, it should be more than the 100%. Next, the scope of engineering economics. Engineering economics plays a vital or a major role in all engineering decisions. It is concerned with the monetary consequence, financial analysis of the project, products and processes that the engineer designs. Engineering economics helps an engineer to assess and compare the overall cost of available alternatives for engineering projects. According to the analysis, an engineer can take decision from the alternatives which is more economic. Engineering economics concepts are used in the field for improving productivity, reducing human efforts, controlling and reducing cost. Engineering economics helps to understand the market conditions, general economic environment in which the firm is working. It helps in allocating the resources. Engineering economics helps to deal with the identification of economic choices and is concerned with the decision making of engineering problems of economic nature. Next, we have to see about the what is the elements of cost. The cost is defined as the amount measured in money or cash expended or other property transfer, capital stock issued, service performed or liability incurred in consideration of goods or service received to the cost may be defined as the total of all the expenses incurred, whether paid or outstanding, in a manufacture and sale of a product. The elements of cost further classified as a material cost, labor cost and expenses. The material cost is further classified as a two types of first one is the direct material cost and indirect material cost. The direct material cost, which is the cost of the raw material. The indirect material cost is indirectly involving material cost, that is a oil or a waste material for the product production. Next, the labor cost. Labor cost also classified as the direct labor cost and indirect labor cost. The direct labor cost is the labor who is directly involved in the production, that is a direct labor, that they are want the wages, that cost is a direct labor cost. Next one is the indirect labor cost. The indirect labor cost which is the office administration labors are included in that. Next, the expenses. The first expenses is classified as the two types. So first one is the direct expenses, next one indirect expenses. Direct expenses is the other than expenses or directly involved in that direct expenses. Next one is the indirect expenses. All the indirect material cost, indirect labor cost and indirect expenses are also called as the overheads. The selling price of a product is calculated as the following formulas. The direct material cost, the sum of material cost, direct labor cost, direct expenses are called as a prime cost. The factory cost is the sum of prime cost and factory overheads. The cost of the production is a sum of the factory cost and administrative overhead cost. The cost of the goods sold is sum of cost of production and opening finished stock and closing finished stock. Cost of the sales. The cost of the sales is a sum of cost of goods sold and selling and distribution overheads. Sale. The sale is a sum of cost of sales and profit. The selling price per unit is calculated based on the sales per quantity of sold. If the opening stock is equal to the closing stock, is the cost of production. Cost of the production is equal to the cost of goods sold. Other cost, the marginal cost. The marginal cost is the benefits of mass production. Cost of the mass production for the 20 units is the 10,000. If we want to the 21st unit, we have to pay the rupees 10,045 rupees. The marginal cost of producing the 21st unit is a 45 rupees. That is a marginal cost. Next, the marginal revenue. That is a additional revenue. The revenue of selling the 20 units is a 15,000. We have to sell the 21st unit is a 15,085 rupees. The marginal revenue of the selling 21st unit is 85 rupees. Average cost. The average cost is a ratio of the total cost of producing a given volume of product to the volume of production. Next, the sunk cost. The sunk cost, it is also called as the post cost of an equipment or an asset or resources. Assume a machine purchased for the 1 lakh rupees about 3 years back. Now the present value is not a 1 lakh rupees. Present value of the equipment should be taken for the analysis. The opportunity cost. The opportunity cost is the shares and real estates include. For example, we are invested sum of the rupees 50,000. If the share means the annual return rupees 4,500. If the real estate means return of 10% expected annual return is 5,000. The return in a share is less than return in a real estate. That is the opportunity cost. Next, life cycle cost. The life cycle cost includes the pump maintenance. For an example, pump. The pump maintenance, pump operation, equipment purchase, installation, environmental cost, downtime cost, disposal cost, energy consumption cost. These costs are also included as a life cycle cost. Next, the marginal cost. It is a cost of producing an additional unit of that product. Marginal revenue. It is a incremental revenue of selling an additional unit of that product. Sunk cost is the already told as a post cost of an equipment or asset. This cost is not considered for any analysis. Opportunity cost. The expected return or benefits foregone in rejecting one course of action for another. When rejecting one course of action, the rejected alternatives becomes the opportunity cost for the alternative accepted. Next, the topic is a break-even analysis. The break-even analysis shows about the like a chart that in a x-axis we have mentioned the quantity, then cost is mentioned in a y-axis. The fixed the horizontal line is mentioned as a horizontal fixed cost. The contribution and the PV ratio. The contribution, it is the difference between the sales and the variable cost. The contribution is the difference of the sales and the variable cost. The PV ratio. The PV means in the profit volume ratio, indicates the relationship between the contribution and sales and is usually expressed in a percentage. Profit volume ratio is the ratio of contribution to the sales, also mentioned as a fixed cost to the break even point. In a break even analysis, we have to analyze the break even point. The business is a loss or a profit. it implies that the total revenue equals the total cost at some point of operation. The break-even point is it is that there will be neither profit nor loss. Break-even chart, it shows the relationship between the cost and revenue at a given time. Total cost is denoted as a TC, fixed cost is denoted as FC, variable cost is denoted as VC, volume of the production is denoted as capital Q, the selling price for the per unit is denoted as small s, the variable cost per unit is denoted as small v, the total cost is calculated as a sum of fixed cost and variable cost. The total revenue is calculated as capital S equal to small s into Q. Break-even analysis, the linear plots of the total cost and the total sales revenue are shown in figure. The intersection point of the above two lines is called a break-even point. The corresponding quantity in the x-axis is break-even quantity. For any production quantity which is less than the break-even quantity, the firm will make loss because total cost is greater than the total revenue. For the production quantity which is more than the break-even quantity, the firm will make a profit because the total profit is calculated by the difference of sales to the total cost. Break-even quantity is the ratio of fixed cost divided by difference of selling price per unit to variable cost to per unit. Margin of safety, it is defined as the difference between the actual sales and sales at a break-even point. Margin of safety is the difference of actual sales and sales at a break-even point. Elementary economic analysis, in a manufacturing engineering economics, decision making is involved in each and every stage of production, from the design to shipping stage. The primary task for the engineers is to plan for the material selection for the product, design selection for a product, building material selection for a construction, process selection. First we have to see about the material selection for a product. The substitution of the raw material, it reduces the cost of the product, it cheapens the raw material price, reduce the machining processing time, enhance the durability of the product. Next, the design selection for a product. Design is an important factor which decides the cost of the product. For a specified level of performance of the product, proper design selection leads to reduced raw material requirements, increased machinability, reduced labors. Building material selection for the construction activities, that also includes in a design. Price of the raw material is location dependent. If the location is remote area, then the transportation cost is more. The last one is on the process planning. Process planning, it is a systematic determination of the method by which a product is to be manufactured economically and competitively. What are the steps involved in a process planning? First one is analyze the part drawing to get an overall picture of what is required. Make a recommendation to or consult with a product engineers on a product design changes. List the basic operation required to produce the part to the drawings or a specification. Determine the most practical and economical manufacturing methods and the form or tooling required for each operation. Devise the best way to combine the operations and put them in a sequence. Specify the gauging required for the process.